It is not a question of if, but when there will be another officer-involved shooting in South Carolina. So far this year, there have already been 19 cases statewide and 7 right here in our area.
Despite the controversy, these incidents may stir up. A Live 5 investigation found there remains no standard statewide policy for how these cases are handled.
Investigative reporter Blair Stable shows us how it's dealt with in our backyard versus elsewhere. She reveals where else the state falls short. We do want to warn you that some of the videos you are about to see may be disturbing.
Let me see your hands right now. Let me see your hands. Hands!
From Greenville County.
Driver got shot. I got one in the car and one down at the end. I need EMS ASAP.
To Summerville, South Carolina. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division reports on average, officers discharge their weapons on the job more than 40 times a year, sparking both internal and external investigations. Rarely do those incidents end in death, but when they do, the outcome can have profound consequences, ones that Anthony Scott knows all too well.
I think about my brother every day, absolutely.
Scott is the older brother of Walter Scott, whose death at the hands of North Charleston cop Michael Slager sparked national headlines in 2015. Slager falsely claimed that Scott had reached for his taser when he opened fire, a narrative later disproven by bystander video showing Scott running away at the time he was shot. Now the family advocates for positive changes, even sharing their painful story with new police recruits to ensure the hard lessons learned aren't forgotten.
Every time there's an incident that's similar to my brother, it rips a bandage off of us. Again, I mean, and sometimes it's almost like it just happened. It's so bad.
The lack of policy and procedures was tested in the Slager trial. Everything was ad hoc across the state.
To this day, Live 5 Investigates found there remains no state standard for how officer-involved shooting cases should be handled, from the investigation to court proceedings. It all depends on where you live.
No, they're not above the law, but they are different. We give them a gun, we give them a badge, and we tell them to go to danger to protect us. So it takes some time to unravel.
While most cases will be directed to SLED agents, it's not law that an independent third party handle the investigation. It is, however, policy in the Ninth Circuit, which covers Charleston and Berkeley counties. That guidance is one of many implemented by Solicitor Scarlett Wilson in 2021 in a 29-page comprehensive policy. The policy sets a 60-day standard for an independent investigation to wrap up, among other deadlines for disclosure to a victim's family and the public.
Before we instituted the policy, it might take months and months and months, if not years, before we would get a SLED report and then be expected to make a decision within days or weeks.
Scott believes the policy is a step in the right direction.
They have a roadmap now. They can look at it and say, okay, they're doing this right here. They're going to be in this stage right here now. It makes them feel a lot better.
The policy mirrors recommendations originally made by the South Carolina Prosecution Commission Task Force, which advocated for the creation of a law enforcement integrity unit within the Attorney General's office to handle both the investigation and prosecution of these cases back in 2017. No such unit has been developed as of 2024.
I believe that we're doing an ample job, for sure. But I think we could do better.
In the meantime, without a state law, it's up to all 16 circuits in the state to establish their own protocols. Some, like the 4th and 7th, automatically defer to the Attorney General's office, which also has no written policy. The 15th Circuit, under Solicitor Jimmy Richardson, plays no role in the investigation until the end to weigh in on if the case can be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. Meanwhile, the 1st and 14th Circuits partnered in 2020 to form their own public integrity unit, which not only examines cases involving use of force, but also public corruption and other official misconduct in conjunction with SLED's findings. But these policies and procedures only go so far, as there still remains unsettled law on what the excessive force standard is in South Carolina. And Wilson says that can only be decided by the courts or the legislature.
That's kind of murky here in South Carolina, and that's not good for anybody.
Well, the policies and procedures are just that, recommendations, and could change depending on who's in charge of the office. Solicitor Wilson, who's up for re-election this fall, says she believes it'd be unwise for any potential successors to scrap these guidelines. Blair Sable, Live 5 investigates.